By a peculiar weakness of human nature, people generally think too much about the opinion which others form of them. Although the slightest reflection will show that this opinion, whatever it may be, is not in itself essential to happiness. Therefore, it is hard to understand why everybody feels so very pleased when he sees that other people have a good opinion of him, or say anything flattering to his vanity. Most of the time, we can't help but care about what others think. We don't want to be seen as dumb, but when we focus too much on others' opinions, we may lose sight of what truly benefits us. Sometimes, it actually helps when people don't hold us in high regard. Being perceived as stupid can be better for our well-being than being seen as intelligent. To enjoy the benefits of being stupid, we must be willing to be seen as foolish to get ahead. Yes, we may sometimes feel that people dislike us and think less of us. But as Schopenhauer argued, their opinions are not essential for our happiness. Now consider that you are at the age of 19, and your mother sent you this letter. You are not an evil human. You are not without intellect and education. You have everything that could make you a credit to human society. All your good qualities become obscured by your super cleverness and are made useless to the world merely because of your rage at wanting to know everything better than others, of wanting to improve and master what you cannot command. With this, you embitter the people around you. Since no one wants to be improved or enlightened in such a forceful way, if you were less like you would only be ridiculous. But thus as you are highly annoying. This letter, written to Schopenhauer by his mother when he was 19 years old, offers a unique glimpse into his early life. Rather than praising his intellect, it criticizes him, shedding light on his struggles with the consequences of intellectual superiority. It seems that Schopenhauer's early experiences and his mother's words influenced his later philosophical reflections, including the concept of playing the fool. Schopenhauer captured the essence of human pride in intellectual ability with his words. Now there is nothing of which a man is prouder than of intellectual ability, for it is this that gives him his commanding place in the animal world. It is an exceedingly rash thing to let anyone see that you are decidedly superior to him in this respect, and to let other people see it too, because he will then thirst for vengeance. Schopenhauer believed intellectual superiority placed one on a higher plane of existence, above the masses. Yet he recognized the double-edged nature of such a gift. While keen intelligence can make one proud, it can also make others envious. Just seeing another person's towering intellect can make the inferior party feel inadequate and diminish their self-worth. This recognition often leads to a desire to diminish or undermine the intellectually superior individual. Schopenhauer emphasized that this strategic use of stupidity is not about genuine ignorance, but rather about knowing when and how to appear not to know. He believed that it is of little value to be wise among fools, or sane among lunatics. By adopting the guise of the dumbest of brutes, one can ensure a warmer reception from others, and avoid generating hostility. He further emphasizes the value of playing dumb, stating, "It is a real recommendation to be stupid, but just as warmth is agreeable to the body, so it does the mind good to feel its superiority, and a man will seek company likely to give him this feeling as instinctively as he will approach the fireplace or walk in the sun if he wants to get warm." He suggests that embracing ignorance strategically can provide a sense of gratification and psychological warmth, similar to the physical comfort of warmth to the body. However, it is important to note that he does not advocate for suppressing or denying one's intelligence. Rather, his advice is clear. Exercise prudence and sensitivity to navigate the dynamics of human relationships more effectively. While intellectual superiority can be a source of personal satisfaction and accomplishment, it also carries the potential to disrupt social harmony. In his essay, Metaphysics of the Love of the Sex, Schopenhauer discussed how people act in social situations. He said, "To play the fool is the last resort in order to cover the defects of others." This statement perfectly encapsulates Schopenhauer's belief that assuming the role of a fool can serve as a strategic maneuver to conceal the shortcomings or flaws of those around us. He was aware that people often have imperfections, weaknesses, or inadequacies that they may wish to keep hidden. However, openly acknowledging these defects can be uncomfortable and potentially detrimental to one's reputation or self-esteem. Schopenhauer was clear that adopting the guise of a fool can provide a convenient cover. diverting attention away from the flaws of others and allowing them to save face. This strategic tactic can be employed in various social contexts, such as conversations, debates, or group dynamics. We know that we humans are often quick to judge and criticize one another. When we see that someone else isn't quite up to scratch, we tend to focus on their weaknesses. However, Schopenhauer is clear that this approach rarely works and can often lead to more tension and resentment. Schopenhauer's quote is clear: wisdom is all about context. It challenges the idea that just having a lot of smarts makes you a good person. Instead, it confidently suggests that being a little bit foolish can help you get through the ups and downs of human interaction and make things more harmonious. In the end, Schopenhauer makes a compelling case for embracing the unexpected value of playing the fool at times. While society prizes intelligence, sometimes acting a bit clueless can actually help smooth over tough social situations. In fact, a little feigned ignorance may be the smartest way to keep the peace. Thank you for watching.
So I made a video early last month about how I thought the current trend of large language model, AIs, would impact the software development industry over the next 10 to 12 years. Since that time, there's been a lot more discussion about that, a lot of it driven by the release of ChatGPT 4.0. Now, that release has caused a lot of people to buy even more into it. Some of those people are in the comments on this channel, some getting information reviews out. And that makes sense. The hype says that within a handful of years, we will have human form factor robots with roughly human intelligence for what could be the current price of a luxury car. Or the haters say that LLMs will soon be as dead as NFTs. As always, or at least almost always, the truth surely lies somewhere in between. But where? We know there's going to be disruption in the job market. Indeed, AI has already caused issues in the job market. I've talked about that several times. We're starting to see companies reporting that they're using fewer programmers due to AI, or holding off on hiring due to AI. For example, BP is saying they're now needing 70% fewer coders, looks like contractors, and yet the number of times AI was mentioned on earnings calls this past quarter was a fraction of the number of times it was mentioned in any of the previous 4 quarters. So which is it? Is it cutting into programmers a lot, or is it dying out? Right now, we don't know. It's possible the staff reductions are only temporary, and if the code quality isn't poor enough, they need to hire more programmers to fix it. We won't know that for a while, and neither will those companies. Lots of bugs take a while to get noticed, especially when you're not actually trying to find them. And we don't know how the numbers of programmers reduced at companies compared to the numbers of programmers that are being hired because of AI. So at the moment, while things are in flux, and companies are making bets, and we don't know which way the bets will turn out, what do? I say we try to look further ahead. We try to look at the fundamentals and try to guess how we think it's most likely to end up, if not when. If it's a bubble, they'll pop. They always do, although it's basically impossible to predict when they will pop. If it's not a bubble and the hype is correct, it's going to be a huge societal disruption, and if that's the case, it's going to be really hard to plan for, or both. Back in 1999-2000, there was a bubble in tech startups, and it popped, and there was a drop in overall tech sector jobs that didn't start growing again until about 2004. But the underlying tech was real, and it was valuable, and it enabled the internet as we know it today. The promise of the internet back then took 15 years or so from the start of the bubble to really take off, and maybe that's the kind of timeline we're talking about. It's kind of hard to know yet. Which means we need to know what we can about whether this is a hype bubble and will pop soon, or a tech that's fundamentally disruptive. And where we have to start that investigation, because it's the best data point we have right now, is with ChatGPT 4.0. And based on what I've seen so far, I think it's pretty clear that Windows. My name is Carl, and this was originally going to be an explanation of what I thought about ChatGPT 4.0 and why. And it still is, but it ended up being a little more ranty at the end. Hopefully you'll stick with me until then. So to start with, ChatGPT 4.0 is much faster than I expected. It's very fast, and that's great. Aside from that, though, I'm not really impressed. The thing that everyone seems excited about is the voice interface. And I think that most of the people excited about that haven't really been paying attention. As I explained in my AI agent video, before 4.0 came out, we had voice and camera graphics interfaces for ChatGPT and LLMs for a long time now. Below, I have linked instructions on hooking ChatGPT up to a voice interface from February of last year. The functionality works out of the box now, and that's great. It's very convenient, and it's faster. But it's nothing new, and it's not really an advancement. Doing tasks cheaper and faster isn't nearly as disruptive if the tasks aren't difficult, or they aren't done well, or they aren't done correctly.
8.
And doing a wide variety of tasks correctly determines how autonomous an AI can be,
9.
and therefore how many and the kinds of jobs it might be able to displace. And most relevant to my
10.
expertise, how it might impact software jobs. And how
1.
the jobs that have already been impacted are likely to stay impacted or likely to come back.
2.
So the next question is, what do we know about the world doing tasks better or more correctly?
13.
My personal experiences with it have been disappointing. In my last video, I talked about how Perplexity.ai found a Steve Jobs quote from 1983 for me, but 4.0 told me it didn't exist. And for the record, Google couldn't find it either, even if I gave Google the exact quote to search for. But I started my career as a physicist. And physics and science is all about experiments and evidence. And that's really served me well over the years, believe it or not, both in being able to separate hype from reality, but also when I'm in my day-to-day work and I'm troubleshooting or debugging, using evidence to actually narrow down what the real problem is and finding and fixing it and figuring out what experiments to run to make the bug show up has been incredibly useful. I do my best to gather the evidence I can find. I look at the evidence I've gathered. I draw conclusions. If I see new evidence, I'll revise the conclusions. This is a pretty much constant process. It has been pretty much my whole career. When I hear news stories or read articles that are relevant to technology trends, I see if it's information that changes my guesses about what's popular or what's becoming more or less important. Even before I started this channel, I did this. It's important for me to decide what I'm going to spend my time on. And, being frank, if that's not something it sounds like you'd want to be keeping up with for the rest of your career, then maybe a technology career is not for you. So briefly, and so I can point people to this section of video when they spout garbage in my comments, what counts as evidence? 1. Researchers publishing peer-reviewed papers are the gold standard of evidence. They aren't always correct in hindsight. People make mistakes. Some falsify even data. But that's as good as evidence ever gets, and the papers that are wrong eventually get found out. 2. Benchmarks are evidence. In fact, that's the whole point of benchmarks. Benchmarks are generally what are used in most of the peer-reviewed papers that we have about algorithm performance. Some people in the comments have tried to argue that benchmarks aren't evidence or count as evidence, but they can't be taken at face value for some reason. What I can tell you is lots of researchers use those benchmarks as evidence in paper after paper. Many of those papers are linked in this video, and as long as they keep doing that, so will I, and I won't care about your opinion.
7.
3. First-hand observation of facts, not speculation, not things that might happen in the future, but things that have actually happened. Count as evidence if they come from unbiased sources that have relevant experience. And lastly, and least
10.
Trends actually are evidence. It's pretty crappy evidence, but when it comes to predicting the future, that's often all we've got. But it only counts if the circumstances in the future are the same as the circumstances in the past. But if the circumstances might be materially different, then I don't trust the trends. And I don't think that you should either. And I don't count that as evidence. So, the explicit commenter on a YouTube video's opinion on the future doesn't count unless it's backed up with sources. A commenter's opinion about a video or an article doesn't count unless they back it up with sources or facts. But the same is true of me. I try to back up the information I give you and the conclusions I draw with sources. My video descriptions usually have lots of them. When I talk about things I'm an expert in, I try to give examples and sources and citations and further reading, and I try to explain what scenarios and experiences I've seen that lead me to draw the conclusions that I have. At the time of this recording, there are close to 60 URLs in the list of references for this video. So, back to ChatGPT 4.0. The consensus is it's way faster. I've been told it's much better at many non-English languages, although I'm not an expert in that. It interacts with sound and images without having to have preprocessors and post-processors to convert, and that's cool and convenient. But when it comes to accuracy, it's sometimes better and sometimes worse. So MMLU is 2.2% better than 4 Turbo. GPQA, which is a science benchmark, is 5.6% better. But on the drop benchmark, which is complex reasoning and math, it's 2.6% worse than at which 4.0 is actually worse than 4 Turbo. It's a very promising new benchmark. Now, don't take my word for it. Here's a link to a tweet from Andrei Karpathy, the former Tesla director of AI. I hope I got that name close to right. He's an OpenAI founding team member. I talked about him in my last video. There were some complaints in the comments of one of my earlier videos about some benchmarks that I graphed that were on a scale of 0 to 100%. still shows the same kinds of trends, but it doesn't have that limitation. And now there's this paper about how ChatGPT's behavior is changing over time. Note that this paper only compares 3.5 and 4. And so I'm looking forward to when they add 4.0 to it.
7.
But according to this, there's actually not a lot of improvement between 3.5 and 4. So you can choose to believe that 4.0 is better if you want, but the evidence is mixed. So it can't be dramatic.
10.
At least not in the realm of how well it's able to correctly perform tasks. And according to some research on some benchmarks, there hasn't been a lot of improvement since 3.5. So
12.
if that's the evidence we have about 4.0, what does it tell us about the future? So this graphic, I guess this counts as evidence, it counts as a fact, but it's evidence of the fact that they're going to be spending a lot of money training GPT-5. It doesn't actually tell us anything about how much better or worse it's going to be at what tasks it can do and how well it can do them, despite what people on the internet tell you. We know that there's a trend that the models have been getting exponentially faster and cheaper for years, and that seems to have continued through 4.0, so it's likely to continue for some time, and that's good for lots of reasons. But when it comes to tasks and correctness, we know there's mixed evidence of it. And so we don't really know how to extrapolate from that. So the best method of prediction in the future is about extrapolating from trends. What other trends are there that we can draw from? It turns out there are two important ones. And they're not actually discussed very much, which is interesting.
2.
The first one we don't talk about much is a bunch of experts who have been doing relevant research for a very long time. But very few people in the tech industry have paid any attention to them at all because they're not part of the tech industry. These people are psychologists and ethicists and philosophers who study not what neural networks can do, but why humans are predisposed to be particularly gullible
6.
about the sentience of AI. It turns out that the human brain seems to be hardwired to believe that things that we interact with have thoughts and feelings and desires and such and such.
8.
I'll put links down below. There's a very long history of people attributing thoughts and wants and desires to everything from weather and nature to tools to props.
10.
And not only do we naturally tend to believe that non-human things have thoughts and feelings, but LLMs have been given attributes that make us even more likely to believe it. There's a thing called the ELIZA
12.
effect, which has been known since the 70s, where a chat interface causes powerful delusional thinking in humans that has been likened to a slow-acting poison. So there's a term that has been coined by researchers that's called dark patterns. It describes user interfaces in products that trick people or trick the brain into behaving in ways that the producer of the product wants that is contrary to the interests of the consumer, the user. Dark patterns are a huge topic, and researchers are just starting to study the dark patterns in LLM chatbots, paper below. But two recent other papers on dark patterns are particularly relevant to ChatGPT 4.0. One of them is about how synthetic voices impact human decision-making, and the other is about how cuteness is a dark pattern. Does the fact that 4.0 has not only synthetic voices, but cute affects like giggling, does that influence what people think of 4.0? That specific research hasn't been done yet, but based on past findings, I expect it's going to be very revealing when it happens. But we know that, intentionally or not, LLM chatbots have been designed in a way known by psychologists and ethicists to trick humans into believing that they're intelligent. And that trend is getting worse and shows no indication of getting better. One more trend that's relevant to all this, it's been going on for at least 8 years with respect to AI specifically, and a whole lot longer in general. So for once, I'm only going to go back as far as 2016 for brevity's sake. I could go back farther, but it would be less relevant. So last year, we found out in a lawsuit deposition that Tesla faked a self-driving demo in 2016. The Independent, which is an outlet in the UK, recreated a Tesla demo in 2022 and found that it actually crashed right into a cutout of a child, as opposed to what the Tesla demo did. Okay. Enough of Tesla, let's talk about Google for a minute. So in May of 2018, Google famously faked
6.
its duplex AI demo. Oh, and Google faked their Gemini AI demo
7.
in December 2023. So they didn't learn that.
8.
Recently, Google claimed that their DeepMind created 2.2 million new materials.
9.
The actual researchers said, quote, "We examine the claims of this work and unfortunately find scant evidence for compounds that fulfill the trifecta of novelty, credibility, and utility." In other words, very few of the 2.2 million compounds that Google claims are of any use or haven't already been discovered. A Google VP recently released a thing that said, quote, In addition to designing AI overviews to optimize for accuracy, we tested the feature extensively before launch. This included robust red teaming efforts, evaluations with samples of typical user queries, and tests on proportion of search traffic to see how it performed. And yet, Google AI said that we should eat at least one small rock per day and add about an eighth of a cup of diluted pizza sauce. So we can really trust Google. Let's talk about Amazon. So Amazon's AI checkout technology, the Let's Walk Out technology, turned out to be thousands of remote workers in India instead of an actual AI. Ironically, that was done via Amazon's online task platform that's called Mechanical Turk, which is named after a famous fraud from the 1770s, where a chess-playing robot just turned out to be a man hiding in a box, pulling it straight. Usually I don't go back to the 1770s, but I guess it happens sometimes. And there have been a bunch of times when something was said to be AI just turned out to be a bunch of remote people doing the work. So GM's Cruise self-driving car technology used 1.5 remote humans for every vehicle on the road to, quote, remotely control the car after receiving a cellular signal that it was having problems. Facebook had a Siri competitor called M, and it was supposedly supervised by humans. Reportedly, though, quote, in practice, over 70% of requests were answered by human operators. It was shut down in 2018. Supposedly it was very expensive. The SEC has recently started charging companies with what they call AI washing, which is when companies say that they're doing things with AI when there's actually no AI involved. And then there's things that do use AI, but the companies insist on lying about how well it does the AI. So on January 23rd, 2024, Microsoft said, quote, Microsoft aims to provide transparency in how its AI systems operate, allowing users and stakeholders to understand the decision-making processes and outcomes. 48 hours after that, Microsoft's products were used to make viral, deep-fake, non-consensual porn of Taylor Swift. After the Taylor Swift deepfake porn went viral, it was reported, quote, Microsoft AI engineering leader says he discovered vulnerabilities in the OpenAI's DALL-E 3 image generator in early December, allowing users to bypass safety guardrails to create violent and explicit images, and that the company impeded his previous attempt to bring public attention to the issue. So much for transparency. The Rabbit R1 demo showed a bunch of things that reviewers said just don't work, and it turned out to be just an Android app. The Humane AI film gave false information in a demo video, and the company quietly re-edited the demo with new audio to make it look like it gave the right answer. The AI thing was famously called the worst product a particular reviewer had ever reviewed. What about OpenAI, though? Have they been caught lying about demos? Quote, perhaps the most widely touted of GPT-4's at-launch zero-shot capabilities has been its reported 90th percentile performance on the Uniform Bar exam. Well, new reports say it was actually in the 15th percentile of those that took the test for the first time. Turns out that what OpenAI seems to have done was arranged it so that their AI got compared to a bunch of people that had taken the test before and failed the test before and were really likely to fail it again. And it got better than 90% of people that were likely to fail it again. At least one of OpenAI's Sora demo videos was done by an FX group called Shy Kids. Link below for that. There was a recent interview with a former OpenAI board member who said that Sam Altman had created, quote, a toxic culture of lying.
Well, that's painful.
Oh, and then moving on from OpenAI, there was this thing called Devin. The company that made Devin kind of lied about that. There was a video about that. You might have heard of it. And there were other examples I didn't put in this list because they were less directly related to AI. And keep in mind, that's just the companies that have been both caught and that were high enough profile to actually make headlines and get reported about. I've been part of many software demos and many product launches over the last 35 years. And in my professional opinion, in my experience, lots of demos lie. There's no way to know for sure, but based on my past experience, I guess that maybe for every demo that gets exposed, at least a couple of demos get away with it, maybe more. And yet we have people insisting that this is all real. A Wired.com article called It's Time to Believe the AI Hype came out on the 17th of May, just after the ChatGPT 4 opened. It tried out the same old joke about a friend that takes another friend to a comedy club to see a dog telling jokes. And the first friend says, what do you think? And the second friend says, well, the joke's bombed. I'm not that impressed. The article then says, folks, when dogs talk, we're talking biblical disruption. And maybe, but let me ask you this. If you're confronted with a talking dog at a comedy club, what's more likely? That there's a dog that's actually talking, or that, like Amazon Fresh, what's supposed to be an unprecedented breakthrough is really just a bunch of people behind the scenes trying to trick you. I know what I've been on. And to top it off, the concluding paragraph of that article insists, quote, this is a direct quote, but the demos aren't lying. Except for, Tesla self-driving and GM's Cruise self-driving and Google Duplex and Google Gemini and Facebook's chatbot and OpenAI's Sora and ChatGPT's Laura's Bar Exam and Amazon Fresh's Just Walk Out and Rabbit R1 and Human AI's and Devin again. Deep breath. So, there's no clear evidence of accuracy in past performance getting better. There is clear evidence that the features being added to these products are attributes like voices that are known to make humans more likely to believe that the products actually think. There is clear evidence that the companies have been lying about AI's capabilities for years. Not all the companies, but many of them. And there's clear evidence that journalists, again, not all of them, but many of them, have and will continue to make irresponsible statements like the demos aren't lying, all evidence to the contrary. But we have to make decisions about what we're going to spend our time on. And we have to decide what we're going to learn and what we're going to avoid and whether we want to switch majors or switch careers or what. What's going to happen with AI is one of the bigger questions in software careers right now, in tech, maybe even in the world.
3.
And I'd really love to know what's going to happen. And if I did, I would tell you, but I don't. And honestly, nobody does.
5.
What I know is that there's currently no clear evidence that we're going to get human-level artificial intelligence anytime soon. And what we really know for definite sure is that many of the people that are telling us how great it's going to be not only have a financial incentive to lie about it, they've been lying about it for years, and have been lying so obviously about it, they've been caught lying about it over and over. And that many people we should be able to trust, like journalists who should know better, keep saying things like the demos aren't lying, even though many of the AI demos have been lying and have been proven to be lying over and over since at least 2016. So we're on our own, and we have to make up our own mind. And like generations of scientists going back to at least the 16th century, I'm going to choose to follow the evidence. And I'm going to choose to reject the narrative that's being promoted by the people who have a toxic culture of lying. But hey, you do you. Never forget, the internet is full of bugs. Anyone who says differently probably thinks you're so stupid that you would believe that dogs can actually tell jokes. Let's be careful out there.
OK。
Hello， 大家好，今天在我的家乡富士县，本次是验一个吃鱼的地方，这里叫猪屎辈儿。这家店开了10年，我们去看一下到底怎么样。
OK。Shut up.
Okay, made it to Tbilisi. Got a place to stash our bags. Time to have some fun.
Man, I'm slacking off.
Okay, let's try one of these.
1, 2.
Oh yeah.
3.
That's sick.
4.
Oh, what the hell?
5.
Yeah, it's cool.
6.
Right there behind the stadium is the lake we stayed at. It's right next to the city. And then behind that lake, past the hills, is where we came from. Look at all these pretty rooftops. We're gonna try way more of these. This is too fun.
10.
The city has so much to offer. 11. That white one or something behind it. Oh yeah. Yeah, upgrade. We were on. Sketchy as hell walking on these ledges with this one. Alright, timed it right. That's what I need. It's not a very good building. You head to the other city, until you get there. They have some cool buildings there. Some big different architecture. You want to check them out? This motherfucker's queuing up for nothing. There's nothing in front. What is this? What is this? Bruh. There's nothing here. I guess it's the minibus? It's not even the minibus. They're not looking at the minibus.
What are you queuing up for? Look, it's literally like
6. 7. 8. 9.
So this is the metro.
10.
Oh wow. Mosaic. That's nice.
11.
All right, let's go find our building. Yes, there it is. We're gonna try to get on that bridge, and then maybe on the rooftop. But the goal is to just walk that bridge. This looks so damn cool. Damn, that is a sick view. We're gonna be on it. Oh gosh, so tiny. Oh. Okay, so we climbed up this stairway, and now we're leveled with the bridge. Oh yeah, this is nice. Okay. I was never so excited about a bridge. This is sick, man. I have never walked into a residential building on a bridge towards like the what, 6th floor or something? We are closer to the roof than we are to the floor. Man, I really hope we can get on top of one of these roofs. Okay, so the goal was never to get to the roof of one of these buildings, just experience the bridge. So cool. But I will look around, see if it's possible. Huh. Alrighty. Just like that. So these are the 3 Skybridge buildings who are there on the bridge. The thing is, to get into the stairways is a bit tricky, and then roofs are barricaded, but it is a pretty good view. Okay, I still want to finish up the evening with one more rooftop overlooking both sides, that side and this side of the hill. Gonna try to hit it. Hope it works. The atmosphere here is just perfect. This cooling rain. The smells of the moist city I like at the cloud.
9,
And the beautiful serenading of the car horns.
10.
Just the one. So we're on the way to the final roof.
Oh
And
man.
the storm is increasing, the wind's increasing, but the sunset behind the cloud is so beautiful. Hope we can make it. Sweet. Yes. Still got the sunset.
1,
This is incredible. I am soaked.
3, 4, 5,
And look, there's even a zip line all the way to the building below. That is insane.
7,
Wow, the sky's incredible. Shit. Oh, this is the most beautiful.
9, 10,
These moments, these views, these emotions.
1,
That's why we do this.
2,
So I share this and couch for this experiences of some felt and satisfying. Okay, the adventure continues. We're at another station in the middle of the city.
4,
On the bridge, you got a nice overview of the yard. The goal for now is to get to
5,
Kataisi, which is about 2,500 kilometers.
6,
It's gonna take a while before we even
7,
can hear anything. We have to get a train. There's also a pretty cool bridge. Apparently, I'm a bridge enthusiast as well.
9,
Okay, so that is the side we're going to go.
10,
And that is where we're expecting a train to come. Ladder wagons here, but a lot of these, pretty sure, are abandoned. Currently don't really see a locomotive or anything connected into this direction. Apart from this, whatever the hell this is.
3,
It looks like some dusty stuff again.
4,
Different color, I don't know, maybe this one. We'll see. Let's wait. Okay, so there is a train coming. And it's pretty damn fast.
that's
Now,
crazy.
it is going a different direction, but we can get a sense of how fast they go on these tracks, and it's way too fast. Gonna have to look for a slower spot.
7, 8,
Okay, New York, new opportunities.
9,
And there's already a train leaving.
10, 1,
Right, well, it's increasing speed,
2,
but it was leaving pretty slow.
3,
Well, there's a guy right there, so we can't really jump on the train.
4,
Okay, so there was only one gondola filled with some bullshit we can't get in between. The rest of the container is plus a guy, so not the best position, but at least we know they're going slow here. Alright. The wait is on. It's on for real. Yeah, it looks promising, there's movement. Let's see. Something's done. This dog was been through a lot. Hey. Yeah. It's everything. Alright.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3,
Okay, looks like something is moving. Switch spots. Yeah. They're sitting in the sun all day. We're a bit earlier today. The sounds are dog shelters. Dog sounds are people working. There's a lot of nice sounds. Man, at this point, you know the drill. But chill, yeah. Ah, fuck. Fuck. Look at this shit. There is a connection leaving, and it is right behind this fucking thing. The locomotive is passing now. Hopefully the train behind it is long enough. Alright, another one out. Yeah.
5, 6,
This guy in the bushes.
7,
Yeah.
8,
Clouding up. That's not because it was a very hot day. I came here at about 7:30. Now it's 16:30, so you count the hours. Plus it's the second day, and
One.
you can literally take squat now. Completely crazy.
2.
Not the right. With this, we are going to dodge the storm first of all that's coming, and then see what's coming from there. I'm at my limit. Just waiting. Whatever. This is the type of stuff we've been dealing with. A bunch of nonsense that we cannot hide on. Plus the smell of a rotting mouse. Plus all the noises. Plus the dogs going insane. Torturous, man. Sucks.
3.
So
4.
obvious. Constantly fucking watch plus
5. 6. 7. 8.
Alright boys, third day, and the only rideable wagons that just passed us are going with the opposite direction. Same old story. Sick of this. So we made it to Kutaisi. 3 days was truly the limit. We're back again at Sept this day. There's some storage for really constantly hoping that something is going to come, that okay, maybe in the next, maybe in the next, maybe in the next hour, but all of some non-rideable shit. Well, took control into our hands after that.
9.
Now we're here. We have a lot more plans. Tomorrow, we're going to start another mission to another part of this country. And
2. 3. 4. Okay. 5. Okay. I'm good. Stop for now.
Oh,